Okay, Chuck, thanks for that warm welcome, and Volker, thanks so much for the invite to speak to you here today. I am really excited to be here. If you look out in this crowd, lots of friendly faces and partners. We've got some mayors, a couple of them that I see there, one next to me, one on my table. But I also want to call out the fact that if you look around you, you are going to see two MLAs here today, at least two that I can see, one minister. And that is not something that we've traditionally seen from previous governments. So I really want to give a shout out to our current provincial government for how interactive they've been. I can tell you every event that I'm at, they're there. They've made themselves available and they care and they're listening. So I really want to give them a shout out for everything I've seen so far. She ran away, so she gets no shout out. Alright, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are at CalmAir, for those that don't know, some of our challenges lately, what we're doing about it, and then I'm going to get into some of the exciting stuff like airships and sustainable aviation fuel and some of the stuff that we're here to talk about. So we are owned by Exchange Corporation. Yes, it is a for-profit corporation. We have 14 ATRs. The ATR is produced by who's the parent company? Does anybody know that? Airbus. Okay, so not a fly-by-night operation. We have one 737 that we lease between Winnipeg and Rankin. When we did this presentation a week ago, we had 146 Indigenous workers. I can tell you that's now up to 150 as 4 new Inuit flight attendants passed their Transport Canada course this week. So we're pretty excited about that. Another program that we have where we sponsor, we actually have it here in Thompson and in Rankin where we pay for the First Nation and Inuit pilots to become pilots for us as well. We did receive Manitoba's Top Employer Award, so Top 100 for 2024. And in addition to all of the work that we do with our partners at Transport Canada, we are what's called BAR certified, which is a mining standard. And we are in the process of becoming IOSA standard, which is actually a higher standard than Transport Canada even. Here's our scheduled passenger and cargo network. So in Manitoba, we go to 6 communities, Flin Flon, the Pod, Thompson, Gillam, you see our mayor from Gillam here, and Churchill. And in Nunavut, we go to 8 communities and another 8 for cargo only. We do have 4 cargo hubs between Winnipeg, Thompson, Churchill, and Rankin. The Churchill hub broke down a few years ago. There was an electrical fire there. We have rebuilt that, so anybody that wants to do cargo out of Churchill is welcome to as well. There's a lot of myths in our industry. You see, some flare or whatever that has a one-way ticket for $99, and everybody goes, "Hey, why can't we all fly for $99?" When you buy the return ticket, you'll find out it's not $99. If you want some luggage and everything else, it's not there. But we're not publicly funded. While the government is our biggest customer, both provincially, Nunavut, federal government, etc., we don't get funding from the government. We do have a higher cost to operate in the north than in the south. Labor is more, a higher cost. We'll get into that in a few minutes, but it does affect us. A lot of times people get on our planes and say, well, hey, you said that you're all sold out, I still see seats there. We do cap our flights. The reason for that is we do not like all baggage or anything else, and so we're capping at what we think will take the entire amount of that baggage on that flight. And if anybody checks in, you will see that our passengers take a lot of baggage. They're not getting on the planes with a briefcase like I did today. They're typically taking a full amount of baggage on. If somebody has a newborn baby, that newborn baby is taking 120 pounds worth of baggage when they go back to Nunavut. Out of COVID. So if we never have to live through another pandemic, it'll be too soon. I think everybody will acknowledge that. We do have a reduction in the number of passengers who got COVID. Some of it is because we have people taking Teams meetings instead of doing some of the travel. Sometimes some of our communities have some challenges in terms of their population growth and everything else. But costs are part of that. I was was hoping to, Michelle, help you with this presentation. You throw all the answers up here on the slides, but since coming out of COVID, so from 2020 up to now, our costs are actually up 45%. And that is largely on the cost of maintenance and parts. So even though both federal and provincial governments have done a fantastic job of controlling inflation over the last couple of years, we're down to about 2% this year, I think, provincially now. We get a letter every year from Pratt & Whitney, who's our engine manufacturer, and they said January 1st, it's a 12% increase. Don't like it, tough luck. You can't change engine manufacturers. So ATR, Airbus, Boeing, all of these guys are pretty much the same. We thought that we were far enough out of a pandemic. Somebody have a question there? We thought we were far enough out of a pandemic that there wouldn't be part shortages anymore. One of the Achilles heels of our aircraft is the AC generator, DC generator, something called the pack valve, which controls the airflow. I got tired of having maintenance delays in some of those issues, and so I said just buy all brand new parts for those issues. And they came back and said, we can give those to you, but it's a 2-year manufacturing hold up on those parts. If you have landing gear for pretty much any aircraft type right now, if you don't have spares in your inventory, you're probably waiting 6 to 9 months for a landing gear. There's 27 ATRs worldwide right now that are grounded because there is no landing gear. So yeah, you better have deep pockets. We have about $20 million worth of inventory at any one time. So if you are a new upstart company and you don't have deep pockets, being able to have one plane is not what you need. You need more than just a plane. The plane is the easiest part. Our load factors. So if you've been on our planes, you can see we are not a 737 with 150 people with a 5 case each way. Winnipeg Thompson is actually a decently good corridor for load factor, but in Nunavut our load factor is 39%, and Manitoba is 58% versus an industry average of 90%. So when we get down to talking about why our tickets are more, it's because the price of pilots, even on a bigger plane, is not materially different. It's the fact that I have far less people to share that cost of those people over. As I've been complaining to you here a little bit, so here's your cost of maintenance. So my cost of engine overhauls, C-checks, landing gear, prop blades is about $30 million a year. That's not labor, and that's no parts. Our parts are anything under $5,000. That's not in that number. Okay. We do have obviously rising fuel costs. The cost of weather is a huge factor for us, and runway and gravel conditions. So I think the Mayor Gillen's here. In Gillen 2 years ago, we spent $1 million in the summer alone on prop blades. It can happen out there. This year, we know that it's particularly wet. So the chief from St. Teresa's here, you would know all the runways in Island Lake, God's River, Oxford House, God's Narrows, they've all had a ton of water on them this year, and they've had conditions that are not normal. We landed in Garden Hill 2 months ago and wrecked a $700,000 landing gear because the runway was too soft. So those are just conditions that you put up with that you don't have when you land in Toronto, in Calgary, in Winnipeg, those kind of things. I did Thompson only because I figured most of our stakeholders are going to be here. So these numbers are all in. These are returned with all the taxes. So it's not the flare, marked smoke and mirrors where I give you one way and all that kind of stuff. It includes baggage, cancellation fees, everything else. So Thompson, Winnipeg Thompson return. If you started here, Winnipeg came up to Thompson today, you're 1146.58. What we do is, this was actually, I got to give credit to some of our tourism people, which I see out there, and Mayor Smook, is we wanted to give a bit of a discount if you live in the north and come south and go back north. So if you're Mayor Smook and you wanted to go Thompson, Winnipeg Thompson, as opposed to Gary Bell who goes Winnipeg Thompson, Winnipeg, Mayor Smook would pay $977.16. So there's a discount if you start in the north and come south and go back. We also have student fares, family plans, and everything else to try and make it a little bit more affordable for the groups. We give wings to our communities. So what that means is we do take a lot of our profits and give back to our communities. So So again, I was going to try and do a question and give a prize for who could take a guess on what we do in Manitoba, but on an average year, we're doing $1 million plus in Manitoba, and we do $1 million plus in Nunavut. That's not cash usually, it's usually tickets or free cargo. For instance, the pool here in Thompson, we gave them a lot of tickets so that they could bring construction workers and stuff back and forth, but that's typically our currency. Here's the big one for us. We call this the ATIC Mason program, and Chief, you would know this is one of your shining stars in your community. So ATIC Mason was the first fellow to graduate from this program, so he was so inspirational to us that we named the rest of the program after him. What we're trying to do as part of reconciliation and being a good corporate citizen is we recognize that for somebody that lives in the north, whether they're in St. Therese or Tuduli Lake or anywhere else, the cost to get a pilot's license can often be prohibitive. Does anybody know what it costs to get a pilot's license these days?
Like $80,000?
Yeah, it used to be $80,000, you're now north of $100,000, okay? And that doesn't include your meals, it doesn't include your housing, it doesn't include transportation costs or anything else. So we now have, this is I think our third year, Thompson, we have about, I think 24 students that go through the program every year. So we usually have about 150 applicants per year. We choose about that 24 number, the ones that we think are best suited to get through that. We also have a elder, and Chief, help me out, I'm not sure if our elder's from St. Therese or from Oxford House this year, but we have an elder that's there to provide cultural support. We pay for all of the flight school, we pay for all of the housing, we pay for the meals, and we pay a per diem. So these students are now getting a pilot's license from us. And the goal there is that at one point we want all of our pilots to be from the north, preferably Indigenous, but it's you have to start with one. And so we're doing a great job. This year we expanded that program into Rankin, and so we had 8 students in Rankin this year, and their graduation was actually last week, so I'm pretty proud of those students. This is mostly what you're here to hear about, which is some of the stuff that's not aviation fuel. So I'll talk a little bit about battery power, hydrogen, hybrid electric, sustainable aviation fuels, and I'll only do one slide on airships because we have Dr. Prentice who will do a better job than me. So battery power, hydrogen, hybrid electric, these are all technologies that we're really rooting for. You've been hearing a lot from the EV guys. I hope I'm not going to be as loud and as passionate as some of your EV guys here because my eardrums were about to bust there, but our cost of fuel is 25% of our total cost, okay, just for fuel. So forget about the parts and labor and everything else, 25% is jet fuel. If we could eliminate that, that's a savings that gets passed along to everybody else. So that ticket price that you see goes down by 25% if you get rid of the cost of aviation fuel. There's a whole bunch of companies worldwide that are working on these various technologies. A lot of them are starting with really small aircraft. There's actually a couple that are working on our size of aircraft. Dr. Prentice actually sent me one the other day that is actually ATR being tested. The problem with a lot of these technologies, like the battery power and everything else, is that you're taking, batteries are heavy. And when you're in a vehicle, it's not so bad when you're on the ground, but our business is all payload. And so when you're taking that payload and putting it into batteries, and you're taking it away from people or cargo that can go on there. And so right now, the technologies that exist weigh as much as the payload that we would hope to have. So our payload is basically zero if you use the batteries in some of these technologies right now. But we're confident that, with the strides in technology that we've seen, we're estimating that these will come to market in, or hopefully before, but about 2035. So we're still stuck with jet fuel for a few years left here. Speaking of fuel, so one of the big trends in the market is what we call sustainable aviation fuel, or SAF. And so what this is basically fuel derived from food stock, so largely corn or sugar cane. Okay, and it is tested basically in all the major aircraft types, ours included, all the Boeings, Airbuses, it's all tested in there, it's all fine. And it is currently being used today. So there are a couple of airports in California and a couple in Europe. And the reason that you don't see them all across the world yet is if you were to take the small amount that's being produced, and it's literally a drop in the bucket, it's in the like tens of thousands of liters, not the billions of liters that's used, and you were to truck it up to Winnipeg or Thompson, you will undo the green benefit of that fuel by trucking it. So we don't do that. But I think WestJet made an announcement that on its Calgary to San Francisco route, they were actually putting some SAF in the plane in San Francisco. So it does exist out there. What you'll see over the next several years is areas like California, they use what we call a pull incentive. So they're going to try and get airlines they'll incent them to use that fuel. So you'll get a discount or a tax credit to use that. In Europe, they're using the opposite, where they're going to hit you with the stick if you don't use it. So you get penalties if you don't have the SAF. They can't put those in place yet because there's not enough SAF, even if you wanted to buy it, to be able to use it. And so those will be coming online. But as of right now, the cost of SAF is 100% more than the cost of traditional jet fuel. So I think today my cost of jet fuel is about $1.30 in Winnipeg. So SAF, if you were ignoring the fact that trucking it would undo its benefit, it's about $2.60. The potential downsides of it is if you were to convert billions of liters of jet fuel into SAF from feedstocks, you could potentially increase the cost of food because you're taking away that corn or feedstock and using it for fuel. The other thing is it, at very cold temperatures, will congeal. So there's anybody here from Ontario. A few years, about 10 years ago, we used to haul biodiesel by plane into those communities before they got onto the grid. And we said, we don't think that you should use biodiesel. It is going to have a problem. We're hauling it in December, January, February. And if it's not being used right away, it's going to congeal and it's going to destroy your generators. I said, don't worry about it. You guys don't know anything. You just fly the plane. We're engineers. We know better. It burnt up all their generators. So they don't use biodiesel anymore. And that was only 5% biodiesel, not 100% like this would be. So even if SAF does come to be market ready worldwide, you will probably not see any in Thompson or St. Therese or anywhere north of Winnipeg, because if you're not using it 100% of it per day, so like in Winnipeg, the consortium Shell has everybody dumps their fuel into one tank, and that tank has a 100% churn per day. So the fuel that gets put in today is all used by this time tomorrow. It would be safe there. It won't be safe in Thompson, where we put fuel in and it has to last us 3 days before the next truck. At 3 days would cause too much of a risk of congealing. So, airships. Dr. Prentice and I, he's more passionate, but I am passionate as well. We're both big fans of this technology. The only thing that sometimes the two of us disagree on will be potentially the application of where it might be from a market standpoint. I think that the market for airships is going to be in things like remote mining. So you're starting to see a lot of the mines become more and more remote as we've used up the mineral that's close to the big markets. So Nunavut's having some. There's stuff in Norway and in remote parts of Amazon or the Pacific Ocean or something like that. These make a lot of sense. You don't have to have an airstrip. You just have to have a landing platform. And Dr. Prentice's group actually has a fantastic idea for a landing platform that we fully support. But the other one that Dr. Prentice and I agree on is if you think about a lot of your produce, it's coming from South America or Mexico, and how long it takes to get by truck. It's typically days, it's crossing borders, or it's getting held up. You could absolutely see an idea where you use an airship to go Mexico to Winnipeg or wherever every day just with the produce that our city is using. So there is a market here, and it's just waiting for somebody to be the first. We need that testing. We need somebody to put that in there. There are things that we need to get our head around. How will it perform in icing conditions and those kind of things, and maintenance. So I agree. Volker and Dr. Prentice and others in this market have said, hey, what if you use some of these open pit mines that we have in this market? Could you maintain them in there? I think that's a pretty ingenious idea. So there is a market for these, and hopefully we'll see them here within the next few years. So some of the key takeaways for us are that we do play a fairly important role in the Manitoba and Nunavut economy. We do try and do our best to be corporate partners, and there is some good things coming technology-wise. I don't know how long you have for questions, Chuck, but
Do the panel at the end.
do a panel at the end, no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.